After following Patrick Rivera for 10 years, I finally got bored. I gave him up and got together with Jeffrey Reed, who liked me. Jeffrey set off fireworks all over the city for a night and bought an island to propose to me. But on the eve of the wedding, he disappeared. When I found him, I heard him sneer at someone. I chased Ruby Ward just to discuss Patrick. Now that I've caught up with her, I find it boring. But I was unwilling to give in, so I ran away from the marriage and embarrassed her. Isn't that fun? So I ran away from the marriage first, leaving him the laughingstock of the whole town. Later it was heard that the proud eldest son of the Zhou family searched the entire capital, but could not find his missing bride. 01. A month before the wedding, Jeffrey disappeared and I searched the entire city but couldn't find him. On the 7th day after he disappeared, I received news that he appeared in the Shanghai Stock Exchange. I flew there overnight. I finally met him on a ship. When I knocked on the door and was about to go in, I heard his sneer. I chased Ruby just to discuss Patrick. Now that I've caught up with her, I find it boring. I paused. He didn't look drunk, but rather sober. So some very extreme words came out of his mouth. And after tasting her, I find her quite boring. There was an ambiguous laughter around. It was Jeffrey who won the flower of jailing. Jeffrey seemed to enjoy the compliment and continued. Although she risked her life to pursue Patrick before, she was too pure. What a pity. What a pity. Jeffrey slowly exhaled a puff of smoke. What a pity, although I am her first man, I am not the first man she likes. She has liked Patrick for 10 years. Who knows if her heart is clear? If I wasn't a sworn enemy of Patrick and wanted to chase Ruby to annoy him, I wouldn't have played the role of a loving man who silently protects her. Someone joked. It's been 3 years since we got the girl. Why is Jeffrey sighing now? Jeffrey looked annoyed and said in a cold voice. It's because I have been chasing her for so long that I feel unwilling to give up. Someone in the crowd continued. I heard she was going crazy looking for you. You disappeared for so many days. Are you okay? Jeffrey took a puff of his cigarette, exhaled a puff of smoke and sneered. Isn't it fun to run away from the marriage and embarrass her? I didn't see any guilt, pity or love in his expression. But great revenge was achieved. But I finally waited until today. My fingertips sank into my palms, and my heart felt like it was being stabbed by a needle. The pain was so severe that I felt suffocated. I always thought Jeffrey would be my salvation and my destination. I also made sure that my feelings for him were not just about being touched but about liking him before I agreed to him. That day, he was so happy that he set off fireworks all over the city. After 3 years of being together, he bought a small island in my name and proposed to me, and filled the sky with sky lanterns. I thought this was love romance. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be a play he staged to take revenge on Patrick. It turns out that those more than 10 years of affection and help were all acted. 02. In a trance, I recalled some past events. I was taken back to the Zhou family from a small town in the south when I was 12 years old. I felt uneasy, inferior, and timid. Patrick just protected me from the bullying back then, and I fell hopelessly in love with him. Chase him until everyone knows about it. But he hated me so much. Later, I finally felt that it was boring and I gave up on him. I saw Jeffrey, who had been silently protecting me. It was raining heavily that night and he held an umbrella for me. He said, Ruby, I don't ask you to see me, I just ask you to be free from now on. How ridiculous. I cleared my mind and welcomed Jeffrey's arrival. I gradually fell into his tenderness. As I began to fantasize about my sweet future with him, unexpectedly, this gave him an opportunity to torture my heart. One knife at a time. Bloody. There was a sour feeling at the tip of my nose and uncontrollable pain in my eyes. A tear fell and I quickly wiped it away. The voice inside continued, giving him advice. To take revenge on a woman, it would be more interesting to make her fall into the abyss when she is at her happiest. Right, so Jeffrey, you should go back. You should go back and help her pick out a wedding dress. You should accompany her to send out invitations. You should act as if no one knows about it. Then on the wedding day, you should leave her alone and embarrassed. I bet Ruby will go crazy. All disgusting laughs. I swallowed my nausea and waited for Jeffrey's response. How I wish I could hear from him. No kidding, I love Ruby. Or maybe it's just too much for a girl. But there was silence for a long while. I heard Jeffrey's calm voice agree. Well, this is a good idea, let's do it. The boundless anger almost suffocated me. I forced a miserable smile, but tears still fell unrestrainedly. Jeffrey, you want to play, right? Then I will act with you. I also want to see what kind of expression you will have when you find out that I have run away from the wedding on the wedding day. 03. I erased all traces of my trip to Shanghai and returned to my wedding room with Jeffrey. I took out the gifts he had given me over the years and cut them up one by one. How strange. I clearly didn't think about anything, so why did so many tears fall? I once heard a saying, a broken heart is like having rheumatism. It's sunny and nothing happens during the day. But at night the dampness penetrated into my bones and the pain was excruciating. Maybe this is just my withdrawal reaction. I stood up and spread the custom-made wedding dress flat on the ground. With a blank expression, he used a pair of scissors to make a tear. I need to remind myself. The same is true for relationships. Once a crack appears, no matter how you repair it, it is impossible to go back to the beginning. After packing everything up, I put these things in the study, which Jeffrey rarely goes in. I was lying in bed, unable to sleep, and while watching a short video, I saw a push notification from someone I might know. The name is, I Love Jeffrey. For some reason I clicked on it. It is a record of a girl's secret crush on a boy. The latest news is that she is positioned in the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Caption. The man I've liked for 10 years is getting married next month. I want to muster up the courage to confess my love to him. Please cheer for me. In her picture I saw a familiar hand. She also wore a wedding ring on her ring finger. That's Jeffrey. 04. I didn't hear from Jeffrey, but I received a call from Patrick. Guess who I met in Shanghai? Patrick, I don't care. Stop calling me from different numbers. When I was about to hang up, I heard the pride he suppressed in his voice. Ruby, don't you know why Jeffrey disappeared for so long? He doesn't want to marry you. He doesn't mind that you pursued me. He only approached you to get revenge on me. He is not someone you can trust at all. What exactly do you want to say? I was already a little impatient. Ruby, at least there are no other girls around me except you who have liked me for 10 years. I sat up and raised my voice. Patrick, you did this on purpose, didn't you? 5 years have passed, and you're still so keen on driving a wedge between him and me. But I tell you, no matter what, this is my choice. I will accept the loss and will never look back. Patrick was silent for a moment, then answered the question irrelevantly. I sent you something that you might be interested in. After I hung up the phone, I received a video. In the dim light, a girl and Jeffrey stood face to face. He blew out a smoke ring, his expression as casual as ever. Amid the cheers, the girl stood on tiptoe and kissed him on the lips. And he didn't dodge. The video ends here. I opened the girl's social media account. Updated. Why is it not considered a success? The accompanying picture is a photo of two people kissing. I felt so sick that I wanted to vomit, so I ran to the bathroom and hugged the toilet and heaved for a long time. Just remembered I haven't eaten for a day, what could I vomit out? At this moment, I was having stomach cramps from the pain I was experiencing. I forced myself to sleep in bed despite the pain, curled up into a ball. Suddenly I remembered that when Jeffrey and I first started our relationship, I wanted to look at the stars on the top of the mountain in the middle of the night. He didn't ask any questions, indulged my little willfulness, and drove me to the top of the mountain overnight. It was a little chilly in the middle of the night, and he held me gently, his body temperature passing to me. He leaned over and asked carefully, "The moonlight is so beautiful, Ruby, can I kiss you? After all, there's no going back." I was sleeping in a daze until midnight when I heard some noise in the living room. I was sweating profusely and didn't have the strength to get up. The next second, the bedroom light turned on. The blinding light made it impossible for me to open my eyes. I heard Jeffrey's anxious voice. "Ruby, what's wrong with you?" 05. I woke up at 7 a.m. in the hospital. I saw Jeffrey holding my hand, looking haggard, as if he had been guarding me all night. He stood up and poured me some water. "You're ruining your body like this when I'm not around? You've always had a bad stomach. You're really trying to kill yourself, huh?" He questioned me. Look how ridiculous. During the week I was looking for him, I couldn't eat or sleep, and I lost 5 kilograms. I always thought that Jeffrey might have offended someone in business and was kidnapped. I was so worried that I couldn't sleep every night and my pillow was wet with tears. But he was at ease and was having fun in other places, even kissing little girls. No words. Jeffrey smiled and pinched my face. You know I will punish you, right? Okay. Get up and eat something. I went home and made you some porridge. I didn't sleep all night. He helped me up and fed me mouthful by mouthful with a spoon, as if nothing had happened. There were times when I really wanted to ask him, Jeffrey, acting, are you tired? Or tell him, Jeffrey, I heard your conversation. If you don't want to get married, we can cancel the wedding immediately. We haven't got the marriage certificate anyway. But I still force myself to swallow it. I also want to know, why does he treat me like this when we have been in love for so many years? Just because I once liked someone else, does that mean I don't deserve love? 06. My dear, why are you crying? He put down the bowl and hurriedly wiped my tears. I was wrong, okay? I lowered my eyes, slowly closed them, and fell into Jeffrey's arms. He stroked my back and began to explain. Baby, I'm sorry for making you worry. I was just a little too excited. I knew I was going to marry you and I couldn't believe it for a moment. I was afraid it was a dream, so I wanted to wake myself up. I'm sorry for not telling you in advance. Will you forgive me? Lie. We will be getting married in 20 days. During this time, I will stay at home with you and let you be my most beautiful bride. Okay? But Jeffrey, we have no future. He wiped the tears from my cheeks with his fingertips. When those peach blossom eyes stare at you, you will feel that he is so affectionate. I'm going to go out and smoke a cigarette, and will be discharged from the hospital later. Jeffrey may have trusted me too much. Or maybe he wasn't afraid that I would think too much. After all, he was just doing what his buddy said and showing his affection. So I picked up his phone, which kept having messages pop up. The password is my birthday. I always knew that, but I never looked it up. When I opened my phone, I saw a lot of messages from a girl named a Peach Blossom. It was added yesterday. Brother Jeffrey, you came back so late. You should go back and rest early. I heard that Jeffrey is getting married. Can you send me an invitation? I want to share in the good fortune. I saw you holding your stomach when I got off the plane. Are you feeling unwell? I cooked millet porridge for you overnight. It is good for your stomach. Come and praise me. He didn't reply to the previous ones, only this one. He replied, send it to this address. I turned my head to look at the pink insulated box on the table and started to feel nauseous again. The girl behind is still posting. Are you sick? Is it serious? I'll stay with you in the hospital, okay? After I finish the porridge, I will cook more. Brother Jeffrey, please take care of your health. Sitting in the hall all night, my legs are numb and my stomach is uncomfortable during my period. I turned off my phone and set the message to unread. Then turn over and get out of bed. In the lobby, I saw Jeffrey as expected. And the little girl from yesterday, 07. Across the crowd, I quietly watched them talking and laughing. The girl danced and her ponytail bounced. She pouted and touched her belly, and Jeffrey reached out and ruffled her hair. For a moment, I felt like I was a mistress peeping at other people. From kissing last night to rubbing hair today. It seems that Jeffrey likes her very much. That's right. Who doesn't like someone who treats him, her well silently, without asking for anything in return, and whose heart and eyes are filled with love for him, her? I smiled at myself. I turned around the corner and saw Patrick. He walked out from the shadows and looked sinisterly in Jeffrey's direction. Is this the opponent you chose for me? I looked him straight in the eye and said, don't be so sentimental. Ruby, why didn't you pursue me back then? I feel a little confused. I have been chasing him for 10 years. Isn't that enough? Ever since I stopped pursuing him, he has come to show off his presence more often. Maybe he doesn't like me at all. He is just like Jeffrey, who is just unwilling to do something wrong. Even so, do you still want to get married? Patrick asked me. I pursed my lips and said, mind your own business. I've given up on you a long time ago. I really don't want to see you. Passing by, Patrick asked, even if he has someone else, does it matter to you? Does matter. I pressed the heart area. It hurts a little, but I know it will get better one day. There are still 20 days left, Ruby, just be patient. 08. On the way home with Jeffrey, I told him that I accidentally damaged the custom-made wedding dress. Does this mean something bad is going to happen? I quietly observed his expression. He just frowned slightly, then turned around, held my hand, and smiled gently as always. Then let's look at wedding dresses again tomorrow, okay? That wedding dress took half a year to make. It was designed by my favorite designer and is one of a kind. It was just sent back a week ago. It looks great on me. Jeffrey happened to be missing, so he didn't see me wearing it. I don't want it anymore. Any regrets? I have no regrets. Jeffrey, let's have some fun. Right? This is just the beginning. 09. The next day I chose a new wedding dress, but of course the finished dress didn't fit me at all. I deliberately asked Jeffrey to accompany me to choose for a whole day, but we still couldn't find a suitable one. On the way back I sighed. What a shame, it's all my fault for not being careful. Jeffrey smiled and said, It's okay, take your time. I looked him in the eye and said, Jeffrey, the wedding dress is broken, why don't we just not get married? I braked suddenly and was carried forward by inertia. I bumped into Jeffrey's hand and he protected me. Are you okay? I shook my head. Pretend to ask. What's wrong? I was just kidding. He squeezed my hand tightly and hugged me. Baby, I can't stand your joke. Don't you know how long I have been waiting for this day? Yeah. But Jeffrey, isn't this what you guys agreed on? Help me pick out a wedding dress, help me write invitations, help me create happy memories, and then stab me in the back. I'm just helping you create opportunities. What are you afraid of? When I got home at night, as soon as I closed the door and before I had time to take off my shoes, Jeffrey hugged me and pushed me against the cabinet in the entrance hall. The hot body hugged me tightly, and kisses fell all over me. Eager to vent emotions, I dodged and gently pushed him away. Jeffrey, I feel uncomfortable and don't want to do it. The arrow was on the string, but he froze when I said something that dampened his mood, like trying to see something on my face. After a while he sighed and hugged me, gently placing his hands on my stomach and rubbing it. Does your stomach still hurt? I neither nodded nor shook my head. His kiss landed on my hair. Sit down for a while, I'll take a shower and come out to cook for you. The cell phone flashed next to me. I unlocked it and saw the girl's message. Brother Jeffrey, I haven't received my invitation yet. Be good.jpg. By the way, your mother asked me to go to your company tomorrow. My resume was approved. I am awesome. I hope everything goes well so that I can see you every day. And I can also bring you lunch, which I made myself. I put it back gently. Then I opened my wedding preparation diary. Write down. 19 days left to the wedding. Today I went to pick out wedding dresses with Jeffrey. What a pity there is not a single dress that fits me. It may be because I have lost too much weight recently. But it doesn't matter. I am so happy when I think about becoming his bride. He feels the same as me, right? Turning to the previous page, I wrote down some of the little things that happened during this period. With 30 days left before the wedding, Jeffrey disappeared and I couldn't find him. I watched our wedding scene plan over and over again on my tablet and cried all night until my eyes were swollen. 20 days to the wedding, Jeffrey is back. I am so disappointing. Did I push him too hard and made him afraid of marriage? It is my fault. I shouldn't be like this. I just love him too much. These will be the most heartbreaking gifts I will give him in the future. 10. The wedding dress was finally ordered by Jeffrey. He said that we would just make do with it this time and had already paid a large sum of money to have a new wedding dress customized for us to wear when we hold our wedding on the island. Oh, that island was bought by Jeffrey when he proposed to me and was named after me. How ironic. When he proposed, he was the one who said he finally got what he wanted. Now that we are getting married soon, he is the one who wants to escape and embarrass me. Jeffrey, tell me, is it so difficult to find a true heart in this world? I saw the girl's update again. Work has been successfully resolved. Brother Jeffrey has kept me by his side. I am one step closer to my idol. The accompanying picture is a secretly taken photo of Jeffrey in a meeting. I took screenshots of them all and wrote, 17 days left to the wedding, the moon on the sea is the moon in the sky, the person in front of me is the one in my heart. But few people know that the next sentence of this poem is, my heart has always been that of a spectator, but I am just a character in the play. It's just a dream. I want to weave a happy dream for him, and then let him fall into the abyss. So in the last week I've had Jeffrey do a lot of things with me. I didn't participate in the details of the wedding this time. I let Jeffrey contact the planning company on his own. I want him to understand every aspect of it. Even the smallest bouquet of flowers should let him know where it comes from. I asked him to understand all the processes down to the minute and know what to do better than I did. He hugged me and said coquettishly, "Baby, marrying you is really a big project." I laughed and said, "Jeffrey, this is such a big project and you have put in so much effort. You are not going to run away from the marriage that day, are you?" He was silent for a moment and said nothing. After a long while, he hugged me tightly and said, "Baby, how could I run away from marriage? I love you so much." He is so adorable that he even posted in his group of friends, "It's really troublesome to hold a wedding, so it's more fun to escape the wedding, isn't it? Leaving behind a mess. It brings shame to everyone close to you. This is the revenge Jeffrey wants." I didn't say anything and asked him to write the invitation. In fact, the invitations had already been sent out, and I suggested sending them again to the closest friends. He picked up the pen himself and I poured it with my own hands. I asked him to write, "There is hope at sunrise, there is thought at sunset, and everything you encounter is sweet." I smiled and said to him, "This is the life I want." He didn't respond to me because I saw him sending a message to the girl. "I'll give you the invitation tomorrow." The girl sent a happy expression. I also wrote, 8 days left to the wedding, will we be able to wait for a happy ending? Of course not. 11. 6 days before the wedding. That girl updated again. I want to give my first time to him so I won't have any regrets. The picture shows a hotel card. At this moment, Jeffrey is cooking in the kitchen. I heard his cell phone ringing. He picked up the phone, his expression changed, and he glanced at me out of the corner of his eye. I was sitting in the living room, smiling and looking at him quietly. He turned off the fire and went out to the balcony. When I came out, he was already taking off his apron. "Something happened at the company. I've prepared dinner. You eat first. I'll be back soon." I smiled and asked him, "You are in such a hurry, are you going on a date with someone?" Jeffrey's eyes dodged for a moment, and he immediately pinched my face. "What are you talking about? It's urgent." He lied again. I pulled his sleeve and said, "I feel a little uncomfortable today, can you please not leave?" "Where do you feel uncomfortable?" Jeffrey touched my face. I pointed to my heart. "Here." He smirked and kissed me on the forehead. "Stop messing around, little liar. I'll be back soon. I'll be back early to accompany you tonight. We still have to go." I haven't let him touch me for some time, so he must be very anxious. After he walked out the door, I followed him quietly. He is usually so cautious. How anxious must he be that he didn't notice me following him? I didn't even park the car properly and even forgot to lock it. I waited outside until 12 o'clock in the morning, but Jeffrey didn't come out. 12. When Jeffrey came back, I pretended to be asleep. When I heard the sound of water splashing in the bathroom, I just felt annoyed. There was a lump of air in my chest, making me feel suffocated. After a while, the bed beside me sank and I was in his arms. I struggle. "Don't move, I want to hug you." He kissed my hair as if nothing had happened today. But the thought that his body might have traces of other women's perfume made me cringe. I felt so sick that I wanted to vomit. I clutched the sheets tightly, trying to hide my emotions. But she couldn't help but bite his shoulder. "I feel so bad, I really need to vent. Otherwise I'm afraid I will go crazy." Jeffrey felt pain and asked, "Baby, what's wrong with you?" I didn't let go until I tasted blood. He sat up and looked at me with a pale face, feeling distressed. "What happened to you? I felt like there's something strange about you for a while now, but I can't quite put my finger on why. Tell me what happened, okay?" Looking at his disgusting face, I relaxed. "It's okay. I was a little stressed before getting married. I was afraid something might go wrong." He hugged me and lay down again, his slow and gentle voice sounded beside my ear. "I will accompany you no matter what happens. Seeing you in pain, I feel more heartbroken than anyone else." I didn't say anything. He continued, "Baby, what do you think our life will be like after we get married?" "Have no idea. Because we won't get married." He chuckled. "I used to dream about having a future with you. So you don't cherish it once you get it, right? I imagine you wearing an apron and making breakfast in the kitchen, with the morning sun shining on your cheeks. It must be beautiful. I want you to have 2 children, one who looks like you and one who looks like me. They are the fruit of love and they will definitely grow up well. I want to see you in every ordinary day. Baby, you asked me if I would run away from the marriage. How could I run away from the marriage? I want to be with you forever. After all, I was the one who chased you. Jeffrey, don't fool yourself. Teen. 3 days before the wedding. I never thought that this girl named Sarah would come to me. When I saw her, I finally remembered who she was. She was a girl sponsored by Jeffrey's family. The girl was very hardworking and was admitted to a big city from a small village. She also secretly fell in love with Jeffrey. Yes, at that ignorant age, I met a handsome, rich, and unattainable man. This man also saved her from danger. Who wouldn't like him? Sister, you've liked someone else for 10 years, but I've only liked Jeffrey for 10 years, so please don't monopolize him. Okay? She had pretty eyes and looked at me with a smile, but I didn't feel any warmth from her. Sister, you should have seen what I posted, right? She knows I've read her social media accounts. So she laughed again. Sister should also know that we kissed and went to bed, and know that we cherish each other and are secretly in love with each other. Brother Jeffrey and I are a better match, aren't we? I felt like a huge rock was pressing down on my heart, making it hard for me to breathe. She was quite defiant. When women get married, they like to choose someone who likes them a little more than they like him. Do you think he really believes that you loved someone else for those 10 years and could easily fall in love with him? You were only with him for 5 years. Jeffrey even told her this. Yes, after I stopped pursuing Patrick, I kept in touch with Jeffrey as a friend for 2 years, and we were together for 3 years after we confirmed our feelings. I lowered my eyes and smiled. If you were so confident that he would be with you, you wouldn't have come to me. Sarah's face turned pale and she immediately fought back. It's just a matter of time, isn't it? Just like you chose the one you secretly loved. So when the tide turns, he will definitely see me who humbly loves him. Because he sees his past self in me, he will have sympathy and compassion. As long as he is curious about me, I have a chance of winning. You, who are in a high position in a relationship, can't understand. There were red marks on the palms from being pinched by fingernails. When I thought of Jeffrey, my heart felt like it was being pinched in someone's hand, and I felt a sharp pain. I suppressed the blood rising in my throat, stood up and looked at her word by word. Don't be impatient, sister. What you can't get will always make you restless. You should grasp your position as a secret admirer well. Because once you are in power, the white moonlight will become a grain of white rice, and the cinnabar mole will become mosquito blood. 14. I leaned against the car and took a deep breath, but I still couldn't get rid of the depression in my heart. The dull pain in my heart felt like a knife stirring inside me, and my hands were shaking slightly in pain. I covered my heart and tried hard to hold back the bitterness in my eyes. No, Ruby, not now. Jeffrey has already felt guilty about me, it's almost over. During this period, I also took him to the places where we had countless first times to take photos. I gave him a task and asked him to make an album to represent the years we have gone through. I told him that this would be our beautiful memory in the future. As he did so, he would pause for a long time after writing down each location. I know he misses it. Revenge on me is real, but those feelings are not fake. I want to use his guilt and turn it into a sharp sword to stab him. Does it hurt? I feel more pain than him. Because of those times, there is no impurity in my love. But I didn't lose either because I can love and I can let go. I just misjudged the person. When I came back to my senses, there was a bottle of water in front of me. I looked up and saw Patrick standing in the sun. I saw it all. He said, "Even so, do you still want to get married?" I didn't take his water. He asked, "Do you regret it?" Love is an experience and I have no regrets. Would you like to consider me? He looked at me cautiously. I was almost laughing out of anger. Are all men like this? When you offer them your heart, they turn a blind eye to it. But when you withdraw your obvious preference, they rush to tell you that they love you. Patrick, I've said it countless times, I don't have any feelings for you anymore. Even if I end up breaking up with Jeffrey, I won't choose you. Why? In this circle, we are compatible in every way. Besides, we have known each other for so many years and know each other well. I snorted coldly. So I, Ruby, must choose between you and Jeffrey? I can't live without you, right? No. He tried to reach out and pull me, but I dodged. But I heard a familiar voice behind me. What are you doing? I turned around and saw Jeffrey's face hidden in the shadows with his back to the sun. His eyes were dark and his gaze was extremely cold. He exuded a suppressed yet powerful aura and punched Patrick in the face. Patrick only had a split second to react before he fired back. Patrick, you are planning to target Ruby. Believe it or not, I will kill you. Jeffrey's eyes were red and he was filled with anger. Patrick was not to be outdone and stabbed him in the heart. Jeffrey, how can you say you are a good person? Do you dare to say that you didn't pursue Ruby just to disgust me? Do you dare to say that your feelings for her are pure? I covet Ruby, but she never responded to me. What about you? Does she know that you have a good sister outside? For a moment Jeffrey froze in place. He looked at me with horror on his face. He said, "Baby, let me explain." 15. In the car Jeffrey was explaining. He said it was just a little girl who liked him, and seeing her reminded him of his past self. There is no relationship between them. Jeffrey held my hand tightly and said, I have loved you for so many years and we are going to get married. You have to believe me. The fingers tightened strangely. The waves in my heart have gradually subsided. I looked at him calmly. Jeffrey, why don't we just not get married? What? The panic in his eyes didn't seem acted. We're getting married in 3 days, honey. Please don't say such angry words, okay? Jeffrey, do you feel very unwilling? I smiled slightly. You think I chose you because I had to settle for second best. You don't believe that I don't love Patrick anymore. You think there is always a place for him in my heart, right? No, that's not the case. I laughed and cried, Jeffrey, I really like you. I like your gentleness and thoughtfulness. I like how I am unique in your eyes. Or maybe I like you for no reason. The way you stood in the rain that day moved my heart. I thought maybe it was you. The corners of his eyes turned red, his voice trembled, and he wiped my tears with shaking hands. I know, please stop talking. I always feel like you are breaking up with me. Don't leave me, please. Jeffrey, do you love me? He said without hesitation. Love, of course I love you. No one loves you more than me. But it was you who hurt me. I sniffed and said, then I'll trust you this time. After all, it's not time yet. 16. 2 days before our wedding, Jeffrey and I returned to our own homes. When he sent me off, he held my hand tightly, fearing that I would run away. Ruby, we're going to get married, right? I have no comment. He consoled himself again. Of course we will get married. We will get married. But that night I secretly returned to the house filled with memories of him and me. I took away everything that belonged to me. Even the hair on the ground was wiped away. All that was left were the pile of broken gifts he had given me and the wedding dress that I had torn. There is also a wedding diary and wedding rings. I really want to see Jeffrey's face when he finds out I'm missing at the wedding. It must be exciting. 17. The day before the wedding. Sarah updated her status again. The man I love the most is getting married tomorrow, and the bride is not me. The accompanying picture shows himself lying on a hospital bed with his wrists cut. I drove out and stood guard at the hospital entrance wearing sunglasses. Soon I saw Jeffrey appear. Sarah threw herself into his arms. Jeffrey stood there, not reaching out but not pushing away either. Being so far away, I had no idea what they said. Sarah rested her head on his chest and kept crying. It's strange that I didn't feel anything this time. I suddenly remembered the second year of my relationship with Jeffrey. When we were deeply in love, I asked him, will you cheat on me in the future and fall in love with a girl who is younger and more beautiful than me? He rubbed my face and said, what are you talking about? Who can be as pretty as you? Besides, if I can cheat, then there are no good men in this world. I met you when I was 12, and we have been together since we were 25. Half of my life is you. How can I fall in love with someone else? They are all fake. There was a message from my senior on my phone. My doctoral supervisor is a great guy. You will definitely love this place when you come here. God knows how much I've been looking forward to your coming. You finally figured it out. I always thought you were just kidding when you applied for the Bobo. Oh my God, I can't wait any longer. How soon will you come? I'll set off firecrackers at the airport to welcome you. Looking at the two people talking to each other not far away, I lowered my head and replied, tonight. All traces of me in Jeffrey's bridal chamber have been cleaned up. I wrote down in my wedding preparation diary. 2 days left before the wedding, I finally understand that people should love themselves first. It's not that I don't deserve to be loved, it's that you don't deserve my love. I don't have any problem. One day left to the wedding. This period of time may seem like a chance for you, but it is actually a chance I give myself so that I won't be unwilling to part when the time comes. So I watched your every move with a cold eye, watched how you hurt me, watched you feel at ease, until I no longer felt any love for you, could not feel any waves, and even began to find you disgusting, and then I moved on from you. Jeffrey, I moved on. Then I packed my luggage and turned off my phone. He got on the plane without looking back. I always have to allow some people to appear in my life briefly. If I love the wrong person, I will let it go bravely and move forward boldly. The road always has an end, but I'm looking forward to it too. Jeffrey, I also ran away from tomorrow's wedding. Are you surprised too? 18. In my third year in the UK, I devoted myself to academia and got a position as an assistant professor. On the eve of graduation, my senior came to me for a drink. Didn't I return home a few days ago? Guess who I saw? Who? That's your two-timing ex. The senior student was filled with righteous indignation. You bastard, you found me and are still acting affectionate. Hearing him again, I felt very calm. Did he go to see you? You didn't look for me. You looked for all the classmates you could find in your graduate school. But you told them not to tell them your whereabouts, and you also asked your family to block the news. There was no way he could find you. Anyway, you are crazy and insane. I clinked my glass with hers and said, I don't really care about him anymore. Of course it's not worth your concern. Before I left, he asked me to bring you a wedding dress, saying he had been waiting for you. So funny. Who asked him to wait? I shrugged. It's all over. I won't be unwilling to accept that the ending doesn't match the process. There is no pain that cannot be cured, no sinking that cannot end. I have let it go over the years. But you still sneak this into my backpack. How despicable. I took it. It was the photo album I asked him to make. It was filled with photos of him and me, from being unfamiliar with each other to slowly falling in love. It records everything that has happened since I fell in love with him. Turning to the last page, he wrote in strong and powerful words, Ruby, I love you. The senior also saw it and looked at me in panic. Hey, you're not going to be touched, are you? I closed the album and threw it in the trash. How could that be? If I were moved, it would only make me feel like all my efforts were a joke. The senior student breathed a sigh of relief. But there is something you should be interested in. I heard Sarah's story from my senior schoolmate. She said it was quite a big deal in the domestic news. It seemed that she was caught and beaten up by the original wife for being a mistress. Then she wanted to use live streaming to clear herself. As a result, more negative information was dug up, saying that she was a repeat offender, and all the posts she posted when she was pursuing Jeffrey were dug out. The secret love diary was backfired, and everyone called for it to be beaten. Knowing 3 is 3? Damn, it makes my breasts grow. I didn't know there were still people who described interfering in other people's relationships as so refreshing and refined. Confessing before marriage, giving away your first time? This woman is so rich. If I were the male protagonist's fiancé, I would go up and beat her up. The woman is mean and the man is not innocent either. If he had a sense of boundaries, would she have so many dramas? So everyone was waiting to see how this relationship would end. Someone who knew the situation said that the bride ran away on the wedding day. The hero searched the whole city but couldn't find his missing bride. And he went crazy. A group of netizens cursed him and said he deserved it. The senior student said, I hope you never run into these two unlucky things in your life. 19. As the saying goes, it comes true. After I finished my speech on behalf of the outstanding doctors, I saw Jeffrey backstage. He grabbed my wrist. Ruby. Excuse me, could you please give me an explanation? I pulled my hand back and looked at him with indifference in my eyes. Is it important? His face was dejected, and he was choking with sobs and could hardly speak. Ruby, you can't do this to me. Even the criminals have a chance to testify. You can't just sentence me to death. I looked at the face I once loved very calmly. The ending is already destined. I will not say it's okay just because you say sorry, nor will I forgive you just because you explain. He still refused to give up. Do I really have no chance to make amends? Does it make sense? When you said that disgusting thing about Patrick that you were chasing me, we had no future together. I thought about it and continued, perhaps I had a revengeful mentality when I acted with you and created those happy memories you mentioned. I also endured for so many days with a little expectation of you, but you still didn't give in and just wanted to run away to embarrass me. Jeffrey, what else can I say? I don't owe you anything. I owe you. Jeffrey explained eagerly, the red bloodshot in his eyes becoming more obvious. I owe you, so I came to find you. I will not run away from the marriage that day. I only consider you as my bride. The only bride in my life. When I read novels in the past, when I saw the heroine leave after accumulating enough disappointment in the hero, I would look forward to the plot where the hero chased his wife to the crematorium. I felt that the hero regretted and felt guilty, and realizing how important the heroine was to him was the greatest punishment for him. But now that this kind of thing is happening to me, I don't feel that the revenge is as great as I imagined. Perhaps it is because their feelings of regret are really insignificant compared to the true feelings they have given. Our relationship ended 3 years ago. Please go away. 20. Jeffrey didn't leave. He bought the apartment opposite me and moved in. And he comes to my school every day. He has been following me for half a year, as if he wants to stay with me for the rest of his life. Sometimes when I get angry, I will scold him. Jeffrey, please stop pretending to be affectionate. Okay? His eyes suddenly turned red. Ruby, please don't do this to me, okay? I shouldn't have been so mean. I shouldn't have said those things that hurt your feelings. I shouldn't have thought about running away and embarrassing you. I really love you, but my ridiculous self-esteem makes me unwilling to give in. I know I was wrong. Please don't leave me. I felt nothing inside and even found it a little funny. Jeffrey, this is really boring. Continue to ignore him. I just thought it was outrageous, but I didn't expect that what was even more outrageous was that Patrick heard the news about him from somewhere and followed him. Sometimes I feel that they are both from the same circle, both have histrionic personalities. I committed murder and arson in my previous life. That is why I met these two crazy men in this life. On Christmas Day, they both asked me to spend it with them. I agreed. I want to make it clear to them all at once. Jeffrey booked a restaurant, and when I stepped in, the room was already filled with camellias. The happiness on his face was real, but when he saw Patrick appearing behind him, his face suddenly turned pale. Why are you here? Patrick snorted. She asked me to come. I put my bag on the table and raised my chin. Both of you take a seat. Ruby. Jeffrey called me. I'm going to make everything clear here today. We three have known each other for 18 years. Now that we are all 30 years old, please stop playing such childish tricks. I looked at Patrick. I am grateful for being that beam of light when I was helpless. Perhaps I only liked that beam of light and not you. When you didn't respond and kept bothering me, I let go of this love. So Patrick, I don't owe you anything. I also tell you that your obsession with me now is only because that obedient and timid girl has grown up to be someone who doesn't need any protection, and you are unwilling to accept that she doesn't revolve around you. I'm not the guy you two are angry with, so Patrick, leave. It's better for both you and me. Patrick looked at me quietly and turned away. Looking at his back, it seemed as if for a moment, I traveled through time and saw the 12-year-old me hiding in the bathroom, hurt and feeling inferior. And this time it was not him who saved me. But I finally learned to resist. It just took a long time, but it's not too late, right? Ruby. I know you liked me. You really loved me with all your heart. Jeffrey may have realized what I was going to say, and his face showed pain. My feelings towards Jeffrey might be a little more complicated. I paused. For Sarah. He hurried to explain. I never loved her, nor did I touch her. I nodded. Yes, you just want to vent your resentment towards me. Especially the closer the wedding date is, the more you feel depressed. I'm not lying to you. During the 5 years I was with you, I experienced happiness, pain, bitterness, and sweetness. That's the feeling of being in love, it's my experience. I also thought about spending the rest of my life with you. But sometimes life is hard to predict what will happen next. I heard those words and I played along with you. I used the things you wanted to do to retaliate against me to severely retaliate against you. Stop talking. Ruby. 18 years, you want me to give up, how can I give up? Jeffrey choked up, tears falling down his cheeks. What should I do to make you forgive me? Please tell me. I sighed. The three of us have been entangled for too long. We can't be happy. Besides, it's just like that wedding dress. It's torn, can't be repaired, and the new one made won't fit. This is the end between you and me. I stood up and said, so don't come to me anymore. I can't bear your love. I won't look back either. He scratched his hair in pain. The future is so long, isn't there a chance for me? I looked at him and smiled. Jeffrey, did you receive the painting I asked your favorite artist to draw when I was 23 years old? He was stunned for a moment, and finally tears fell from the corners of his eyes. We are completely unrelated, right? I didn't speak. My answer was to turn around and leave. Once missed, it is missed. I may feel regretful occasionally, but I will never regret it. When the door closed, Jeffrey stood there motionless. But I know it's all over. Mountains and seas will have their own time to return, wind and rain will meet each other, resentments will eventually be resolved, and everything will be as you wish. I also wish that I can enjoy myself to the fullest in the ocean of life, because there will always be a few winds in the world that can fill my thousands of dreams. End of text. Jeffrey Extra. 1. The day before my wedding, I felt particularly panicked for some reason. A message popped up in the group chat on the phone. Jeffrey, are you going to get married tomorrow? Give us a definite answer. Yes, we also went to watch the fun and recorded Ruby for you. It must be very exciting. The phone was turned on and off, but Ruby didn't send a single message. I feel a little irritated. Posted in the group. Before marriage, does the woman not contact the man? Brother, we have never been married, how do we know? But generally speaking, I will be so happy that I can't sleep and whisper to you via video, right? Not necessarily. What if I'm shy? Brother Zhou, if you ask this, do you want to get married tomorrow? Do you want to? The things I did with Ruby during this time kept coming back to my mind. My heart skipped a beat. There was a very clear voice telling me that I wanted to marry her. I'm not kidding. I'm serious. After all, I have given my heart to you for so many years. I want to see her watching a movie on the carpet in her loose pajamas with her feet folded. I also want to see her pouting and saying, I don't know how to cook, Jeffrey, can you come and help me? I want her to curl up in my arms, blushing and calling me a scoundrel at the slightest sweet word. Vivid, lovely, wonderful Ruby. In our shared home. I want to be with her forever. Thinking of this, I called her, but her phone was turned off. Something feels wrong. After I asked in the group, they said that they might be too tired and went to sleep first. After all, getting married is a big project. Maybe that's the case. I posted in the group. I am getting married tomorrow. No one is allowed to be absent. You're not running away from marriage? Brother. Hey, Brother Zhou was just joking. How can you really not get married? Are you really going to run away from marriage and save face? I turned off my phone and thought about how Ruby would look beautiful in her wedding dress. It's just a pity that the custom-made wedding dress was damaged. But it doesn't matter, she is the most beautiful bride no matter what she wears. I think Jeffrey, from now on, just put away those little thoughts and resentment and live a good life with her. 2. The wedding scene was weird. I can't describe how it feels. All the procedures were going according to plan. The host was on the stage, but I was absent-minded. I don't see Ruby. My heart was beating fast and I had a feeling that something big was about to happen. When the host said, let's see what the groom has to say, I suddenly woke up and realized there was no such segment. But the stereo surround sound system at the scene has already started to play sound. I could hardly stand and couldn't stop shaking. That's what I said on the ship that day. I pursued Ruby just to disgust Patrick. Now that I've caught up with her, I find it boring. But I was unwilling to give in, so I ran away from the marriage and embarrassed her. Isn't that fun? There was an uproar at the scene. Then the video began to flash on the big screen. The girl kissed me, and although I dodged it at the time, I happened to catch it in the photo. The hotel room number she posted on social media showed me going in. She said she wanted to commit suicide, but I just told her not to do anything stupid and comforted her a little because I was afraid she would not give up. As a fellow wanderer in this world, I understand the bitterness of silently liking someone. There is also a photo of her hugging me and crying at the hospital entrance. That was when she decided to give up on me, and I didn't have the heart to push her away. Nothing happened to us, but for some reason my heart seemed to break into pieces at this moment. Ruby knows. Turns out she knew everything. She knew I didn't want to get married, but she still insisted on acting with me. I suddenly recalled the memories we had together. She gave me many chances. Then I finally left after accumulating enough disappointment. Jeffrey, you failed her. You deserve to die. 3. I had a fight with Patrick. You are such a jerk. He punched me in the face. I also had some emotions that I wanted to vent, so I punched him back fiercely. What the hell are you? Patrick sneered. Yeah, I'm not a good person and I coveted her. I wasted 10 years of a good girl and I regret it. So what? Jeffrey, do you know how much I envied you? I didn't have her, I hurt her, I thought you were different, but you turned out to be such a jerk. She's been with you for 3 years, not 3 days, and you treat her like this? I sat on the ground dejectedly. I couldn't imagine how she felt when she heard what I said. She was probably heartbroken, so she escaped from the marriage without a word. Didn't leave me a word. But when I was leaving the wedding scene in a daze, I received a gift that was customized 3 years ago, painted by my favorite artist. In the picture, everything is silent. A thin girl squats on the ground, her eyes filled with tears, looking up at the boy holding an umbrella. That was when we were 23. It was drawn by Ruby, who was 25 years old, on the day we confirmed our relationship. After 3 years, it finally reached me. The card read, "This is a gift from 25-year-old Ruby to future Jeffrey." Perhaps at that moment, I heard the sound of my heart beating. I held the painting in my hands and burst into tears. Would the 23-year-old Jeffrey want to kill the 28-year-old him? 4. I became a laughingstock in the whole city, saying that my bride ran away from the wedding that was so much anticipated. 2 men were left to fight for her, and neither of them was a good person. They said that a jerk like me shouldn't mess with others. I didn't want to hear anything. I was desperate to see her again. I searched the entire capital city but couldn't find her. I finally understood how desperate she was when she was looking for me when I was missing. She seemed to have deliberately erased her own news. No one knew where she went. I went to someone to check, and the only response I got was, "Jeffrey, please stop making things difficult for me." Yes, she had already started preparing to evacuate when she heard what I said. How could I possibly find it? It was my fault. The real departure is not to leave with a big noise, but to leave quietly. Ruby, you really gave up on me. When I realized this, the bitterness in my heart was about to corrode me. I returned to the bridal chamber. All traces of her presence in it were gone. She did it on purpose, deliberately not leaving me any thoughts. It was abruptly removed from my life with a decisive and ruthless attitude. She is really cruel. I searched every room. Finally found the things she left in the study. That was my gift to her, all broken. She used this method to try to distance herself from me and tell me that she was disgusted by the things I gave her. And the wedding dress we had custom made in Italy. There is a long scratch. Spreads from the waist to the hem. I remember when we went to place an order half a year ago, she danced with joy, saying that she had finally waited for this designer. She said she would be the most beautiful bride for me on our wedding day. At that time there were stars in her eyes. But I do it for the so-called face. For the so-called resentment and revenge. I hurt the person I love and hurt her true heart. Many times I also understand that Ruby's feelings for me are sincere and passionate, and she wants to have a future with me. We have spent countless late nights together, saying the most beautiful words of love, and promising to be together forever. But I lost her. My ridiculous self-esteem made me go crazy with jealousy just because she likes someone else. Forgot the best memories we once had with each other. Those wedding preparation diaries were proof that she loved me, but now they are like sharp knives stabbing my heart. I couldn't stop crying as I read it. I hugged the wedding dress tightly in my arms. In the empty house, only my tears fell silently. I want to spend the rest of my life making up for it, but that person will never see me again. 5. I started drinking and didn't go home, using this method to numb myself. I told everyone that I was married and that I had a wife. She was very beautiful and I had loved her for more than 10 years before I finally got her. I often cry and laugh when looking at the chat records between her and me on my phone. They all said I was crazy. I'm not crazy, I just miss her too much. Sarah came to see me again. I didn't see her, but she didn't give up. Finally got the chance and ran to the bar to block me. Brother Jeffrey, what are you doing? What am I doing? I'm drinking. After Ruby left, I lost interest in doing anything. I dare not go back to that home. It is full of memories of her, but no trace of her. Emotions that have nowhere to vent can only be relieved by drinking and indulging. Sarah, get out of here, okay? She came up to me and hugged me. She is so old now and she has wasted so much of your time. Why don't you look at me? I am young, but the key is that I love you. I have loved you with all my heart for 10 years. You are the only one in my eyes and heart. I am much cleaner than her. Clean. I pushed her away harshly, but I felt a little bitter in my eyes. I never had a good sleep. Whenever I closed my eyes, I saw Ruby's shadow. I thought I would feel good after taking revenge on her. But no, I just felt so heartbroken that I couldn't breathe. It has been 16 years, from the time I knew her when I was 12 to the time I was 28. I actually lost her. I regret it so much. I really regret it. Without warning, I covered my face and broke down crying. Sarah wanted to come over. I raised my head and looked at her coldly. If you don't want to disappear from the capital, get out. Also, the Zhou family's financial support to you ends here. That night I returned to Ruby's and my wedding room. I lay on the floor of the study, curled up in my wedding dress. 6. It was 3 years later that I received the news that she had graduated with her PhD. I flew over without saying a word. I wanted to see her and say sorry to her, but she was just cold and distant to me. It seems like she really doesn't love me anymore. I don't believe it. We have been in love for so many years. How can we just say we don't love each other anymore? So I stayed there, hoping to win her back just like I did back then. A good girl is afraid of being pestered by a man. As long as I humble myself, she will be so soft-hearted and see me, right? But she really didn't want to see me at all. Later, Patrick came and I had let it go on me. But looking back now, I realized how ridiculous my jealousy was. It's just that Ruby asked us to talk it out. After 18 years of relationship, she just said she didn't want it anymore. I finally understood that both Patrick and I lost. I was obviously the one who fell in love first, and I was obviously the one who got her, but I lost completely. Then year after year, I fly to the UK many times every year, just to see her from afar. When I was 35 years old, I saw her sitting on an open-air chair holding a little pink ball. The sunlight kissed her cheek through the clouds. The little girl's eyebrows and eyes looked very much like her. In the distance, a tall, handsome Chinese man bought an ice cream and handed it to her. She is still so beautiful when she smiles. Just doesn't belong to me no longer. When I turned around, I saw Patrick also behind me. He just watched them silently. After a long while, the three of them disappeared into the street, and Patrick finally spoke. Ruby shouldn't know us. He glanced sideways. Jeffrey, when you were jealous of me, did you ever think that one day I would be jealous of you? But later, neither of us held her hand tightly. I sighed softly. Patrick, we are all assholes. Assholes don't deserve love. For the rest of her life, I just hope she can be safe, happy and healthy. In a future without us.